Welcome to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast, the place where leaders come to learn how to create a workplace where people would be crazy to leave. Join your hosts, Holley Potts and Tony McConnell, as they serve up stories, strategies, and real talk that you can actually use today. Let's get into it.
All right. Welcome to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast. My name is Holley Potts, and I'm hosting this show, I suppose, with my co-host over here, Tony McConnell.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome, Tony.
Good morning, Holley.
So I thought maybe we would just start with, we are kind of thinking through out loud what we're actually doing here. And we talked about calling this the Pizza Party. The Pizza Party podcast. And I looked, and the only podcasts I saw about pizza parties were actually about pizza. But why were we going to call it something different?
Well, it's kind of a play on words. So for centuries now, for decades, companies have used a pizza party as a way to enhance their culture. Well, and I say enhance loosely, but that was, most companies' idea of cultural involvement. It was a pizza party. So we're like, hey, and we had this idea of coming in and having pizza boxes set up everywhere and just me coming in going, what is this? And slapping them in the floor, just going, this is not how you fix a culture. But I think we'll just stick with the Irresistible Workplace Initiative because, we're here to try to create a culture that people be crazy to leave. And I think, which I will say that.
Yeah. Pizza party. And then, what came to my mind, ping pong. Pizza party and ping pong. You got a ping pong table in the break room.
Oh, yeah.
Pizza party. We don't have any of that stuff, but I feel like we do have an irresistible culture for sure.
Yep. We'll play a little beer pong if need be. But,
that would be different. So, Tony, I guess what I want to do is just go to the very start and talk about, because I'll wear a shirt, Irresistible Workplace Initiative, or even the little logo. People notice it. I see them look at the logo. And they're really drawn to the name. So when did we even come up with that? Trying to remember.
The Irresistible Workplace, I think that was something that Joey, the CEO, integrator at Dow Smith, had said that was his goal, to make an irresistible workplace. And we talked about institute or academy and different things. And, and we were like, it doesn't speak to me. I think initiative is more about a movement forward, a motivation. Initiative to me is something that's ongoing. To me, I don't want it to be a place. I want it to be a movement, and that's what the initiative is. And I think that's our goal, is to figure out how to take what Dow and Joey have been able to build over the last 30 years at Dow Smith Construction, where you're in an industry that nationwide has about a 50% turnover rate per year. They've been able to keep it really, really low, almost zero. If most people that leave don't leave on their own, they leave, because they're either not a fit or there's, another exigent circumstance reason they leave. But it's not near the turnover rate that the national average is, and Dow sees that as a force multiplier, as a multiplier of what they're able to do. It's a business multiplier. It's a strategy. I like to say, culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah.
I think it's been Peter Drucker is who that's been quoted from, but and it's the truth.
Yeah.
If you don't have a culture, it doesn't matter how good your strategy is.
Yeah.
And so initiative to me is just, but initiative is a movement forward. It's always moving. It's not a hey, come in here and we're going to teach you something, because we're not going to do that. Yeah. We're going to keep moving. It's something you never give up on.
It made me think, too, there's a phrase we use a lot at Dow Smith, which is live at cause.
Yeah,
we say live at cause. Like, instead of waiting for the effect and being reactionary, get at the cause of it. And that may tie into what we were talking about earlier today with why would somebody do it.
Yeah.
So, but let's back up just a little, because you and I both technically are employees of Dow Smith Contracting Company, construction company. And so it blows people's mind when I try to explain to them. Like a couple weeks ago, someone asked me what I did. And it's hard to explain it. Well, I am a director of people development and kind of over the well-being of all the folks at Dow Smith Construction Company, and their face just, their mouth, they go, wait a minute, what? Explain that. And so let's talk a little bit about the fact that we are employees there, and then how it morphed into this, since this is our first go around with it. And for me, let's see, I came to Dow Smith in January of 2021, and Dow had reached out to me a few times over the years of like, hey, would you want to come do this or that? Just small little things, So I knew him, and I knew Joey, and I knew some of the people.
They were just trying to get you on the bus.
Somehow they were trying to get me on the bus. I didn't realize that
bus.
now I hear him say that about people. How can we get this person on the bus? But I always had something else going, and I never did it. And then finally it was the right time and I was actively looking and available, and they contacted me, and my role turned into being, I guess my first official title was sort of director of well-being and chaplain. They wanted me to be a chaplain to all the guys. And then I had just gotten a life coaching certification, and they wanted me, I offered it. I said, well, when I meet with people, I can do coaching. Well, why not? Dow said, I'll be your first client. And that was very intimidating to me. It was my first coaching session right after getting certified was him. And, but he's the easiest person I've ever coached. He comes in prepared. He goes, here's what I want to talk about today. And I'm like, go, I'll listen. So anyway, so even just getting that job began to create an irresistible workplace for me, because I thought, I cannot believe I'm at a company where they hired a position and a role simply to interact with the employees and oversee for their well-being. You know what I mean? That part it blew me away, and it still continues to blow people away, that a company our size, especially. I mean, if you see a director of well-being or even people development, which is that's more professional and training and all that, it's usually a very large corporation. So they said, we've got this, small to moving toward medium-sized company, and we're going to invest a full-time position in this role. So that made it, for me, I was like, is this even a job? It's a dream to get to do it. Yeah. So that was my number one. It was irresistible. And then let's go to you, because I think that the conversation probably started the same way.
Yeah, it did. Shauna, my wife's the CFO there, and she started in 2012 when they were about a 8-person company.
Wow.
An 8-person company in a different building, and their revenue was considerably lower than it is now. And we weren't married. We were dating at the time. And when she got hired, I was in Afghanistan. I was running 2 airfields, battalion commander in Afghanistan, and came back and met Dow and Joey, and have been friends and acquaintances with them for a long time, and finished up my career in 2017. And, there's been talk at different times of, hey, we need to figure out how to get Tony over there. But I didn't really want to work where my wife worked.
Right.
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And she definitely didn't want me working there, because she knew I was hard to manage. Like Dow says a lot, the reason he's in business for himself, because nobody else would hire him.
Yeah, was it? He says, I'm unemployable.
I'm
or
unemployable,
whatever.
that's right. Yeah. I kind of feel like I'm the same way. But anyway, I retired, had a couple of jobs, and had what I thought was my dream job, flying helicopters at a company, and something that I had thought would be a good follow on for my military career. And it had its advantages, but the culture at the base that I worked at was horrible.
Okay.
And the turnover rate there has been tremendous. I don't even know how they stay in business. The turnover rate is 50% of the pilots every year, just about, since I've been there, or since I was just in the year and a half that I worked there, it was about a 50% turnover. And since I've been gone in just a few years, they've had, out of the 4 pilot positions, those positions have all been filled 3 times. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a lot of turnover, and it was all culture. And that's kind of, and once Dow started talking about, but I got involved with Dow because I knew a lot about training. I was, one of my things was training. And my first in with Dow was training as a training coordinator, just as a part-time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When they came up with the Dow Smith way through the EOS system, and I would go out and train the employees just 3 or 4 at a time, sitting around lunch at Toots or something, and talk about it, just one-on-one.
So you had seen, two things kind of came together for me there. One is when you left the other job, you knew the culture. You didn't want to be a part of it. You were just like, I'm done. I'd love to go deeper than that maybe a little bit. But on the flip side, what had you seen from the outside looking in, being married to Shauna, kind of knowing Dow and Joey, that you knew the culture there was a little different?
Oh, yeah. Just, just some of the things that they did even before you came along, just with helping people. And Gary, who was one of the partners, Gary Grisham, he really was big on pushing for training people and helping people level up. And even with a small company, as they were growing, at the time, like I said, in 2012, they were around 7, 8 employees, and now they're in almost 40 employees and been close to 40, and it sort of bumped around that for a little while. But that's a huge jump in a short amount of time, and their revenue has also done the same thing. It's went up 10 times what it was, in 2012 when I first became aware of the Dow Smith Company.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of right things going on. Are they right with everything? Probably not. Nobody is, but they are intentional with it. And that's what we always talk about. We tell people to be intentional, be curious, be intentional.
Right.
And I think Dow has always done that. He's always thought about making himself better. And all the leaders there, Joey, and even have pushed Shauna, outside her box to be better. And they invest in their people, and have, and not just in their leadership, they invest in everybody, and they want to make sure that everybody's voice is heard. And I've really, as they started doing surveys and so forth, and not just doing a survey, doing a survey is a culture killer if you don't do something about it.
Yes.
Worst thing you can do is ask somebody what they think and then never do anything about it.
Yeah.
So they've been very proactive in that.
Yeah. Well, I was definitely on the other side of the conversation before you were getting recruited, right? We knew here's Tony, here's the Colonel, I mean, seriously, and all the gifts and experience, and man, way overqualified. You're way overqualified to come to us. Yeah. But being that you were looking at, do I really retire or what I want to do? You had that flexibility, and you've brought what you've brought your experience with you, and it made us better already. And so you've gotten to do a lot of different things, for us. And then I think when we made the shift to IWI, the Irresistible Workplace Initiative, it was, how can Tony help us implement this business model, really, which was born out of a vision. And I'll try to say it, help me, correct me if I'm wrong, but the vision was for Dow Smith Company in 10 years' time to impact 1,000 members of an Irresistible Workplace Initiative.
Yeah, get them. Yeah. And, it started out as having a thriving culture.
A thriving culture, yeah.
That was our name, it was thriving culture. Yeah. That was our initial start was a thriving culture.
We tossed around the word institute a little bit, like you said. Is it some sort of institute? I remember when he came with the vision, he's like, I have this idea for I don't know, maybe an institution where it's like learning and it's all these things. Yeah. And I think you pulled it together with the word initiative. Yeah. And then Joey came in with, well, how can it be irresistible? Like what we knew, even you and I had experienced very little turnover at all. And it's like, how can we help other people, especially if it's happening in the trades and construction? Yeah. If you find a small company that's able to have a healthy culture and hang on to people the way Dow Smith Company has, that message needs to go beyond, our borders a little bit, but beyond our
we sort of use, the trades as our benchmark. We're like, if we can impact the trades, we can almost impact anybody.
Yes.
If we can make a thriving culture in a trades-based organization, then surely we can do it in a nonprofit, in a church setting, in a professional setting. And right now, we have clients and members of our initiative that are all over the board. We have trades, we have churches, we have nonprofits, we have athletics, college athletics.
Yes.
It's been a very, and it's all, the principles are the same for all.
That's right.
And when we started out, we were just trying to figure out what we stood for, I guess, And we kind of came up with after we've had a few meetings, came up with our 6 key components of what really, if you can do those 6 things good, you will have a pretty good culture.
That's right.
And it's
so we said we wanted to have what makes a place irresistible to work.
Yep.
It has to be something to do with the people element.
Yeah.
Because it's all about that.
Because you hire employees and what happens?
Human beings show up.
People show up with people problems.
So somehow, and this process is a mystery too. We can't, looking back, it's like, how did it come together? But we came up with 6 as a good number, and we felt like everything, every topic, every whatever that could make you irresistible or not could fall under one of these 6. Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and name those, and then we'll flesh those out just a little bit, and then maybe talk about how we do that with our groups. Well,
you got leadership, which is broad. It's huge. Leadership is number 1, and there's probably 30 sub leaderships, but then you got leadership, recognition, feedback, which we talked about this month, in our table groups, which has been really good, compensation. And then we have balance and then growth, not growth as the organization, but growth as, the people's ability to grow either, laterally or whatever within the organization.
An individual's growth for sure. So 6 things again. Let's see if I can name it after you just did off the top of my head. Leadership, recognition, feedback, balance, growth, and compensation. Yep. So those are great. 6 broad things. Do you think, I know leadership is sort of, everything can fall under that.
As the leader goes, so does the company. And the culture of the organization. Can
any one of those stand on its own or need to be pulled out, or how does that work together? Like, is there anyone that's different than the others or more important than the others?
My favorite saying of that is like love and marriage. You can't have one without the other. The older, you can't have one without the other. I think they all revolve around each other. It's a non-linear approach, and you have to have them all. Yeah. I do think that compensation, we talk about which one will kill it quick, is if the compensation isn't ethical and isn't fair and people's basic needs aren't met. And compensation, I mean, not just pay. Yeah. Is it time off, pay, insurance, flexibility, that all, if that base isn't there, then the other 5 don't really matter.
That's right.
But if you're, and most companies that are worried about the others are also doing the right thing in compensation. Yeah. But so I would say that if the compensation one isn't at least meeting the basic needs, just in like the hierarchy of needs, if it doesn't meet the basic needs of the team members and employees, then the others are not going to help you.
Yes.
But then leadership, if you don't have leaders that are committed to this and that are curious, one of my favorite sayings about culture is, curiosity will kill the cat, but it will save your culture. Yes. That's one thing that I try to preach all the time is make sure you're curious about your culture. So. Right.
You can't be afraid to dig in. I think, maybe jumping ahead a little bit, but that's one of the things that maybe people hesitate to get involved with what we're doing.
Because they don't want to know.
Right. It's a fearful thing to go, what if I find out there's something that really needs to change? But like you said, curiosity can really save it. And if you come at it out of curiosity, that's a way to approach it that's fair. Yeah. It's we sort of put together this little ebook that's on our website, and there was a statement in there I wanted to read and ask you about because, I don't know, it just really resonates with me. But it says, we name the 6 components, and then we say, together these form the foundation of a workplace that is not only productive, but profoundly human. And I wanted to ask, what does that mean? Not only productive, but profoundly human.
I was thinking about that today as I was reading that, and I knew you were going to ask me about it because you've asked me about it many times, and I'll never have a great answer. And the problem is I usually don't have the same answer.
That's okay. A lot of ways of coming at it.
And I try to think of it as, Dow Smith Company as a company and as its processes and as its equipment don't build anything. It's people build things. Mm-hmm. And if your people don't come to work at 100% or close to 100%, then your productivity isn't going to ever be at 100%. people don't leave their home problems at home. You know, they bring them with them. We all bring them with us. You know, if you and I had problems today, we brought them with us.
Right.
If we're thinking of things, but then also, people don't leave their work problems at work.
Right.
You know, to me, compartmentalization is a fallacy. It is hard to compartmentalize your life into a work, you know, and home life. It all works together.
Yeah. And the culture is
really
changing.
Integration. Yeah, and the culture is changing to where it's even more so. I think the days of, you know, putting on your tie and going to work and your family not knowing anything about what you're doing is over.
Yes.
You know, those days are over.
Yes. Or not, like you said, not taking those issues to work with you.
Yeah.
You know, I can see 30 years ago, maybe somebody goes to work and whatever is going on can get handled later, but because of technology and everything else, you can be ordering plane tickets for something you need to do. Or you know, there's people are multitasking all the time, and their two worlds are colliding all the time. So we talk a lot about how.
What was your question again?
I
think we got to the right spot.
About profoundly human, because
I think everything we do in any business has that human element in it.
Yes.
And it's just like you said earlier, you know, we all hire employees. We all, you know, have, you know, soldiers show up to our units, but once they come to the unit and they come to the door, they're humans. They have human issues, and you get to know their kids and you get to know their families. And I think Colin Powell said, people don't care what you know till they know that you care.
Yes.
That's kind of the truth.
Yeah.
It's very impactful.
So one, you know, productivity and the human element. I think in the past, it was much more accepted that you just go to work and grind it out. Like people didn't talk about burnout. People didn't quit. They stayed at the same place for so long, you know, even if it was bad. But that is just not the way it is. And I think part of what we're doing is helping people see that, you know, you can be, if you care more about your people at their core, they will actually be more productive. And you gave me an analogy when I asked you earlier that was it was about a guitar. And I said, does creativity and productivity work together? Because I feel like if I'm just producing and grinding it all the time, my creative side I have to pull away to get creative if I'm just working on the work. And so you gave me a great illustration about something you heard about a guy and his guitar, and we talk guitars a lot. So.
I was watching a video because I'm always shopping for another guitar like I need another guitar. Sorry, Sean. I was watching Jason Isbell, who has two new guitars that Martin are putting out that are a copy of a 1940s guitar that he used to record his latest album, Foxes in the Snow. He plays, it's him and this one guitar throughout the whole thing. And he talked about the guitar and how nice it is and how, you know, how he can be mad at a guitar if it doesn't, you know, just play good and so forth. I read a article with him one time, and somebody asked him what guitar are you playing now? And he says, well, it's the guitar that it's closest to me, unless I'm mad at that one that day. So, you know, and unless you play guitar, you really probably don't understand that. But there are times, and you've seen me get mad at a guitar and have to get another one. But
so what happens if that string doesn't stay in tune, or that every time you hit a note on that,
it kills your creativeness because you're thinking about the technical side. And that's what in the promo video, Jason says that he loves a guitar that he picks up and doesn't have to think anything about the technical. It just plays good and it feels good, and it's natural. It's an extension of his fingers, an extension of his soul, where that his brain can think about nothing but the creative side. Yes. And I think that's a little bit of what, you know, we talk about with a culture. If you've got a culture that's got problems, if you got problems that manifest themselves on the regular, you're never going to be good at what you do to make the money as you could be.
Yeah. You said when you write a certain song, there's a certain guitar you go for because it's the easy. It's not your favorite, but it's the easiest to play.
That's right. Yeah, it's a Fender Mustang. You know, it's probably the cheapest guitar I have, and it's just one that I like to play.
And you can write songs because you're not having to worry about what you might be mad at. And I think that when you told me that story, I just loved it because it made a perfect analogy for me to think, why are we doing what we're doing?
Yeah.
Is if people come in, like you say, imagine a guitar neck with the frets. Every fret stands for a portion of a person's life. It's part of a whole, right?
Yeah.
You can't pull the first fret out of the guitar. It's part of it. And so you can't, people have financial stuff going on. They have relational stuff going on, maybe parenting, maybe taking care of parents, all the things a person is juggling that you can't separate that from your humanity when you show up at work.
Right.
And so how do you think the work we're doing makes a difference for the everyday person? Let's just say at Dow Smith, for example, because that's where we're practicing this the most.
I mean, that's what I think sets us apart from a lot of consultancies and so forth is we're really not, I don't consider myself a consultant, like even on our website, we just put coaches. We're cultural coaches, and that's what we do. I met with a couple people in the last few days, members, and we just talk about things. And because I don't have the answers, most people have the answers. You just got to help them work it out. I think what makes us different though is that we're still actively participating. We're still actively participating in the process of keeping a organization's culture, a growing organization's culture, as close to perfect as we can get. We're never going to be perfect because it's a people thing, and people aren't perfect. We're all flawed. We're flawed leaders. We're flawed people.
So those guys that come to work for us who've been elsewhere and have seen not a healthy culture, where do you think they feel and see the difference of what the Irresistible Workplace Initiative is doing inside Dow Smith walls? Where do you think that they notice that the most?
I think they notice it probably from the leaders down, from Dow down. Dow knows, most everybody's family, knows most everybody's struggles and most everybody's achievements and what they can bring. And he eventually learns their where they fit in. And not everybody can do the same things. Not everybody has the same a set of abilities. And so he tries to find out how to keep people working in their sweet spot, because that's where you're going to get the most productivity without making people stretch too far.
I often wondered, like when I first came into my role, I remember my first company meeting, I'm like, these are tough construction dudes. Like, this is not like everybody's in flannels and beards, and all this good stuff. And are they going to actually sign up for a coaching session with me? Are they going to come and be like, I'm going to sit one-on-one and talk about my life with someone? Now, it's not counseling. It's not that. And we do help provide counseling for people that need it, for sure.
I had 30% of the company in about 30% of the company in a financial peace class, my first financial peace class.
That's right. Because if people are coming to work worried about their finances, it's going to be on their mind. So why can we not help them as a workplace, give them some tools and, support them through it? So I think that was one thing right off the bat too, where it's like, wait a minute, I'm an actual individual in this larger thing where someone cares about me enough to say I can take, like, it's company time literally to go do a coaching session and work through maybe other issues in my life, whether it's financial or physical health or whatever. I mean, I think that was, some people have come in and said, y'all do that, okay. And maybe hesitant, but then once they realize what it is, it's real helpful, because then they can get that off their mind. They can come up with a plan and go back to work. And it's not still just hanging. Usually you feel lighter. You should feel lighter after a coaching session, like, okay, I know where I'm going to go next,
And that's one of the things you're talking about, people coming in and asking the questions. That's the one thing with our table groups, we have with the diverse set of people that we have. There's and then we say problems, but they're not really always problems. There's opportunities, and then there's also things that we need to sustain, and the guys are bringing in things that they're doing that are successes, and we're all learning from each other's successes, not just from each other, probably learning more from each other's successes. And what blows my mind is, we'll go in and we'll have our 4-hour day with everybody, and they come back the next day and everybody comes in and goes, hey, I tried this. I put this
Yes.
at the bottom of my the bottom of my email saying, you don't have to answer this just because I sent it.
Right,
We've had some really good, really good things. In fact, we all learn. You and I, we take things back to Dow Smith
Right.
that we learn from our clients.
Let's describe this for a minute. So somebody's listening to this for the first time. So the initiative really started within Dow Smith,
Right.
and it's still maintaining within Dow Smith to go like, how are we trying to keep that culture strong and care about those people? And then now we've got to share this. It's sort of spilled over.
Yeah.
And we've created, we have 2 currently table groups meeting. Right. Describe as you would, like, what is that day like? What is that group of people? What is the purpose of that?
Okay. Yeah, well, we started, with inviting a lot of people, about 40 people to a breakfast over at Holley on Main, one of our favorite places, and had a breakfast there last December and just walked in there and talked about the importance of culture and how culture isn't fluff. Culture is it's no fluff. Culture impacts your bottom line like heavily.
Yeah.
Like just
you shared your hard-hitting question. Will you share it now?
Yeah. What would you do if when you left here and are walking to your car, you get a text or a call saying 2 of your heavy hitters just decided they need to walk out the door? That to me, when somebody asked me that before, I was like, oh man, I've got to share that. So that's kind of been that's our mantra is, what would you do?
What would you do?
What would you do to keep those people?
Yes.
What are you actively doing to keep those people? Right. One of the statistics I read over and over again is that 50% of employees are actively looking for another job. But what are you actively doing to keep those people?
Yes. That preventative, we talked a little bit about preventative medicine, right?
Yeah.
Because some people, and I'm jumping ahead a little, but one of the obstacles I think for people is to go, I don't have time to do this. Like, I'm doing the day-to-day, I'm running my business and I'm in it all the time. Yeah. I don't have time to pull away. So the peer group kind of forces that.
Yeah. One of the things that you learn as a leader is it's a little lonely at the top. And that's what all the members at our tables have said, they are looking for a place to go and talk to other leaders. Yes. And that's really what it is. The first table when they started, a lot of those guys were really looking. In fact, we got 2 that joined that didn't go to the breakfast that were just looking for a place to go. And then when they found out that it was going to center around the people, that really piqued their interest. And because we don't go in and teach them how to, we don't, to be a good to great company.
Right. Or here's a business model.
Yeah, business model. And these are the way you should keep your books. And no, we're not doing that. There's EOS, there's Jim Collins and all for that. But we want to sit and talk about the people component. And we're doing it right now. We're doing it all live. We don't do anything virtual. This is the most virtual we've been yet.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's been a big plus is to have people actually get to sit down and break bread together. We have a lunch and somebody caters it, and we've used several caterers. Holley on Main does cater for us, and we have several. Joe, caters for us some. So it's just a process. If we come in, about 10 o'clock, we all do a check-in, and usually that check-in starts organically with going with Doug or somebody else, Matt, at our table saying, hey, this is what I encountered this month, or this is what I took away from last month that we implemented, and these are the fruits of that. Yes. And that to me is, I don't even know how to describe it, because I know you and I sit there and like punch each other in the leg, hit the table, punch each other in the leg going, hey, that's a good.
I remember the first time. So we had several conversations. So just for anybody listening, like once a month, we have a topic and content sort of picked out for the group. And then we also use organic listening and follow where they lead and all that. But it really was the conversation in that Table 1 group about recognition.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of that, one of the members looked at another one and said, I'm going to ask y'all next month what you did.
Right. And he did.
He did. And so we whenever we saw that happen, we knew we were looking for when are they going to help each other be accountable? When are they going to help each other grow? Yeah. It's not just show up and then we're going to ask them.
That's right.
And I think we knew it went to another level then because they respected one another enough to share the things and then start asking. And so when they came back and shared success stories, that felt really good to them.
Yeah, and that to me was a success for us and them, because like we told everybody when we started the table group, we're like, we really don't know what right looks like in this.
Yes.
Y'all are test pilots. Y'all are
Yes.
helping us build this plane in flight.
Yes.
And it took us a little bit of trial and error, and but I think with the recognition one was the one where, it's the Colonel's culture compilation,
Yes.
which is a little bit of narrative and then some really good articles. I try to, and I'm always learning. I love to learn. One of my mantras for the last several years has been try to learn something every day. Once you stop learning, you stop growing. Once you stop growing, you start dying. It's kind of somebody asked me one time, when do you stop growing or stop learning? Let's cut this part completely out because I don't want to talk about this because I'm rambling. All right. The Colonel's cultural compilation, it has some narrative from me or from you or of us talking, and then it's not a lot. I try to pare it down to maybe 5 or 6 really good articles, targeted articles about something. And that month, I really targeted towards recognition, and then we got some really good videos and went back in and talked about recognition, and I talked about the importance of recognition, in a military organization. It's like Napoleon said, it's amazing what you can get people to do for a little piece of fabric. So we talked about some of my experiences with that, and talked about how it had evolved at Dow Smith, and we had Emily come in, talk about how she had taken some ideas and made it a really good, something people look forward to. Like you said, you got guys that are like, I got to be there because it's the anniversary, so I got to be there and get my recognition. But that was the day where we saw that having a targeted newsletter sent out a couple weeks in advance with the topics, with pretty deep dive articles, and then sending out targeted messages through our group me and emails to our table members, and people just being ready when they got there. And
they were ready, because one thing that surprised me, that was that topic on recognition that we did with Table 1 that first time, because I know we're going to revisit it.
Yeah.
We heard people share some hard things like, well, I was never recognized growing up.
Yeah.
Like I never got that kind of feedback from my parents or whatever. So it went much deeper of what is it, how we're being shaped as a leader.
Yeah.
It goes pretty deep.
Well, that goes to a topic that we're going to broach soon is the multi-generational workplace now, because this is like, I think I read something recently said that there are more generations working in one company at a time than there ever have been.
Wow.
There's multiple, there's generations older than mine, all the way down to whatever they're called now. I don't know. I'm in that weird generation there, I guess Gen X is where
Gen X, me too.
So.
Yeah, me too. And it's funny the way they look, like we were talking about the culture's changing and jobs changing. So I've had a handful of different jobs. I haven't had a lot of different jobs, but some varied positions. Yeah. And my daughter was telling somebody the other day, she said, I was trying to help him because I worked for a chiropractor for a while and was certified to be an assistant for a chiropractor. And he had hurt his back, her friend, and I'm like trying to help him. I'm like, you can do this stretch, you can do that. And she was like, yeah, my mom likes to help people. That's why she's had a lot of jobs. And it made me feel like embarrassed and weird, but it's because I'm in that middle in between of like, my parents' generation was the one of like, okay, we go to work at the same place for 30, 35 years, you retire, and then now the younger generation, it's like hop, 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 hop. And so we're sort of, which one's better? I don't know. And the companies aren't necessarily as loyal to the employee as they were 30 years ago sometimes. And so, we have more varied perspectives in one workplace now probably than we've ever had. And that's something that leaders have to figure out how to navigate, because people don't see it the same. And oftentimes there's a gap between the leaders and their employees on what they see as, well, even compensation. The views on compensation have changed a lot in generations over the years. It used to be, okay, here's your check, here's your bonus.
And that feeling of doing, meaningful work and life-giving work is what Al Lupus, with BCWI talks about.
Yeah. So now we've started Table 2 group. It's really, really new. Still got some room to grow in that one. And
it's our most diverse, too.
Oh, man.
As far
diverse
as
group.
Work, as workplaces.
They plunged right in on day one and came back with stuff they had already changed, on month 2. But I guess just to kind of move us to sort of a summary place, like what are we hoping to see as a result of meeting with these tables once a month? We meet once a month. We meet from 10 to 2. We have lunch. We do a topic. We do discussion. Talk about being an irresistible workplace and what that requires. What are we hoping to see?
Our goal, I think, goes back to what Dow's initial real short goal was, that he wants to take the culture that we've been able to build, that he's been able to build at Dow Smith over 30 years, and see that type of culture flourish in our community, and not just our community, local community, not just in the community of construction, but in our community as humankind, and I don't, I think what we're really going to see, and what one of my goals is to see, us, we're not just impacting the people that are at the table. I want to see the impact that they make at their organizations impact the next round of leaders. It's like someone we were talking about recently said that you're never really truly a leader until somebody you have led creates a leader. So, so I think that's kind of what we're going for, right. is to try to impact, we want that expectation. I don't want the expectation to be, I'm going to go somewhere and work because that's what I do. I want the expectation to be, I'm going to go to work there because I want to work there. I want to stay there. I'd be crazy to leave there. Yes. But also I want leaders to have the expectation of, okay, this is what I need to do. This is how I learned. I didn't learn from not getting recognized. I learned from being recognized for doing the right things. Yes. And I got feedback when I was doing the wrong things. I got feedback when I was doing the right things. I was compensated for fairly, or I was ethically compensated, which is, something we really, you and I think is the best conversation for compensation, is ethically compensated.
Yes. Yes.
And I think it's just, it needs to be a circle. It needs to be like the circle of life. It's like, we want to give now so that the people that are receiving can give later, and it be a flourishing, work being a more integrated part of life.
And it's a movement.
A movement, you said. It's an initiative.
Because I have such a passion, and it's all, to me, born out of gratitude so much, because I love my job. I love where I work. I'd be crazy to leave. Yeah. And if I could share that with more people, but everybody can't come work at a construction company, you know what I mean? Right. But if we have all these other people who say, hey, I want to be a part of that, and we want to create it the same way, then we can send good people to lots of, we can send them to places where we know the culture is trying to do a similar thing, to what we've experienced. So just to kind of wrap this part up, we had, and I won't name the member, but we had somebody share after we talked about balance, about how to be your best at work and lead an organization and lead the people you work with, but also don't forget you have a home life and a family and all these things. And somebody shared something really special with the group about where they had set a boundary and chose to do something they needed to do with their family versus something they needed to do with work that day. But the benefit of it and the fruit of it was just worth it. Yeah. And everybody connected to that, and everybody felt the joy. And it's sort of like, to me, the gratitude that I feel and the joy that I feel going to work is something that I wish for everybody, no matter what. And it's like I ask you today, it's freezing cold outside. We got guys out working in the cold. Yeah. How can we know that even though it's hard work, it's tough work, that it's going to be an irresistible place to work for them? And it's all these other things. It's all these other things that make it worth it. So, yeah.
What do you think?
All right, Tony. That was the first of what I know is going to be many, many more conversations. We talked a lot about theoretically what makes an irresistible workplace, and I just look forward to more conversations like this.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I look forward to diving into things.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah.
See y'all later.
Next time.
Alligator. And all like that.
Thank you for listening to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We will see you on the next one.